voice completely, so you'll have to put up with my scratchy voice today. And give me 2 seconds. Again, let me know if you've got problems hearing me. I actually tried to be really organized today, and I tried to, give me a second. I figured, look, before I go live on Twitch, let me just go live on one of my private Facebook groups to make sure my audio works okay. And of course, for whatever reason, it wouldn't work. So I thought, oh, look, let me just reboot my laptop just in case it's a laptop thing, right? Because it said it couldn't connect and whatever. Technically, if it doesn't connect, you'd think it's something else. And now, of course, when I rebooted it, it says, oh, it's running Windows updates, and that was the longest Windows update. So now that I'm back on, I don't really have time to do any testing. So if you've got any problems hearing me, let me know, yeah, guys. And by the way, stick around, because by the end, you have to remind me. I always forget. I always tell people, stick around till the end and I'll announce something, and I forget to announce it. So I feel sorry for people who do stick around. But if I forget, just remind me, all right, before I wrap up today. But basically, I'm going to announce the giveaways. I've been mentioning over the last week or so that we're going to have some really exciting giveaways now that we've hit the 1,000 follower milestone, and I'm sufficiently comfortable now that we have actually like exceeded that milestone that I'm not going to have a couple of people drop out and for us to miss the milestone again. But anyway, thanks again for joining me again. My name is Jackie M, and I am a Malaysian-born, Sydney, Australia-based street food specialist. I used to own a restaurant. I gave it up to look after my son Noah, who today is in the next room watching his show very happily. But if he does get bored, he'll have to come out, and I'll have to kind of like rush things around along pretty quickly. Okay, so I've got this pack of chicken today. And what I'm going to make, and I know I have made chicken curry live on air a couple of times before, so I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to actually still make some chicken curry, because that's kind of like Noah's favorite dish, and it's kind of like one of mine as well, right? But also I figured it would be a good opportunity for me to actually make chicken rendang, right? And then show you guys the difference between a chicken curry and a chicken rendang. And also, while I'm at it as well, I figured I might actually talk a little bit about Kerisik, which is something that shows up in some rendang recipes, right? And just give me a second. I'm just getting that spinning circle. I just want to make sure that I'm working okay live on air. Hang on. Okay. Don't forget to say hello if you're watching this on Wednesday the 12th. If you're watching this on Wednesday the 12th of July, this is live. If not, then it's not live, okay? It's a replay. And like I said, so I've got a number of computers around. I'm surrounded by computers thanks to Lenovo. So a shout out to Lenovo Australia for the computers I use. Hey. Yeah. So if yeah. So I just gotta make sure I mute everything before I go. Otherwise, you'll get all kinds of feedback. Okay, so this chicken is good. I just want to check. Hey, you do this when this is home cooking, alright? I'm not serving this to anyone in a restaurant. But hang on a sec, let me just get a little bit organized here. So first up, I've got just under 2 kilos of chicken legs, right? They're usually kind of my go-to cut of chicken. If I'm not buying a whole chicken, I tend to like to buy chicken legs because they're cheap and they're meaty and they're not too fatty as well. Hey Remy, how you doing? So again, like what I've done in my last few episodes of where I use chicken legs, I'm gonna cut off the skin, right? And I'm gonna separately air fry them because I really like crispy air fried chicken skin. So let's do it. So of the nearly 2 kilos of chicken legs here. I'm going to use half of it for Malaysian chicken curry, like I said, because no one likes eating chicken curry, and the other half I'm going to use to make chicken rendang, okay? Looking for my scissors, I'll be back. Okay, yeah, also, you're making chicken curry and kerisik. Chicken curry and chicken rendang and kerisik. I didn't want to put down chicken curry because I didn't want to put people off saying, oh, but I've seen her make chicken curry 50 times, you know, including vodkas. Okay, so I'm just trimming off the chicken skin, and I'm gonna, like I said, season the chicken skin and then throw it in the air fryer in a bit. That'll just kind of like give me an extra, an extra dish to go with our meal tonight. But and I've mentioned that with Malaysian curries, you get usually they come in. Let me just move this a little bit out of the way. Okay, I've just got my computer here. Galactic Convoy, Asian and Australian. I know, right? What more can you ask for? Okay, so just like I said, I really should just rip these off. I'm being a little bit dainty here, but okay. But like, yeah, usually when I cook chicken curry, I don't eat the skin. It just gets tossed out. But since I got my air fryer, and if you're interested, this is an Optimum Healthy Fry air fryer. It was supplied to me by the company that distributes them exclusively. It's called Prestige Home Appliances. If you want to check out the website, it's just prestigehomeappliances.com.au. And they supply me with that along with a number of other appliances as well, and they're all on that website. All right, so again, just trimming the chicken skin off. So like I said, now that we've hit the 1,000, I'm Australian and Asian myself. Oh, awesome. Which part of Asia? You should meet Kay. Kay is half Asian, so he's like, yeah, he's 50% cool. I don't know if he's gonna hop on. Kay's one of my moderators. And Remy is like me, a Malaysian Chinese, but she's in Malaysia. Here you go. This Remy is also my moderator. Vietnam. Oh, okay. Oh, very cool. You know what? This next week, in fact, what today's Wednesday. This time next week, I'm going to be in Cabramatta, and I will actually be filming some videos for Fairfield City Council to promote Cabramatta and its eateries. So I'll actually be doing a Vietnamese video there, Vietnamese cooking video in Cabramatta. So it'll be a little bit, it's kind of like a little bit embarrassing because I'm not, I mean, I call myself a street food a Southeast Asian street food specialist, but I'm doing it, I do it a little bit tongue-in-cheek because I used to call myself a Malaysian specialist, and then half the dishes I cook that I call Malaysian, people from other parts of Southeast Asia say, oh no, that's actually from Indonesia, Rendang is originated from Indonesia, and Hainanese chicken rice is Singaporean and all that. So in that case, obviously I know more than oh, drop frames. Hang on, let me have a look. Okay, I'm still connected. If you got any problems with my connection, let me know. It just showed up on my system that it's experiencing drop frames, which it shouldn't be because I'm on my super fast network. And I'm sick as a dog, guys, so I'm sorry about this coughing. I'm gonna have to run into the kitchen if I keep coughing like this. And this particular batch of chicken skin seems to be really kind of like, well, let me just try and use both hands and rip it off. Don't give me a hard time, guys. I get that a lot on YouTube. When I do something on YouTube, oh my god, I can't believe she just coughed. Oh my god, I can't believe she just touched this, you know, sort of thing. You don't have to eat my food, all right? You're just watching it. And this is all for personal consumption. Okay, ripping this off. One of my internet connections, well, my home internet is so slow that while I'm streaming on a fast internet, I'm watching my stream on my home internet, and it's like it freezes every now and then, and you get that spinning circle. It's really annoying, so I can't see your chats at the moment. So don't forget, like I said, by the end of this broadcast, I'll try and talk about it. Like, I won't make you guys stick around for 2 hours, but it'd be nice if you did. But I've got some really exciting giveaways lined up. The only question is how we're going to do it. Whether I give them away randomly or actually offer them as part of a competition or something like that. Australian internet is so bad. Yeah, with NBN, even with NBN, it's horrible. You know what? That's kind of funny because I always assumed that NBN would be like the be all and end all, right? And then I went to I had to do a live stream from someone else's place who I've never been to. And I said, oh, just to make sure, you know, can you tell me what your internet connection is like? What do you have? And she said NBN. I said, sorted, you know, that's good. And no, her NBN speeds were like basically my ADSL speeds. It's just as well I brought my 4G modem with me. I actually live stream using 4G data. So you can imagine how much that costs. So I always have to be a little bit careful with my streams that I don't run over time. Be nice to get a telecoms provider to sponsor my my Twitch streams, in all honesty. I've been dogging on them for the longest time. I doubt any one of them will want anything to do with me. I've been making fun of Telstra because they're who I'm with. I've been making fun of Telstra since I started live streaming on Twitch because I've just had such ongoing problems with them. Here you go. Okay, got all the skin off. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of chicken. That's not a lot actually. I've actually got more chicken up the back. I'm tempted to grab, yeah, I might grab some of them. So give me a second. And in all honesty, I've got so much chicken because I made a mistake. I thought I was when you have to use 4G to stream. I know, right? Yeah. Just give me a sec. I'm just refreshing my screen because it's frozen up. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know. It's, people are saying, oh, why are you using 4G? You know, I'm paying... Just for Twitch live streams, I pay for a separate 4G plan. So this is a 4G plan that's not part of my mobile phone allowance, right? Just for Twitch, I pay $150 for 80 gigs 4G. And then I've got a residual plan from my mobile phone. That cost me, I don't even know how much, probably about $80 or something like that, just for the mobile data, right? My mobile phone plan itself is like $100 or something like that, but I must pay like 150, $200 or something. $200, yeah, I would pay probably about $200 for that. It's just ridiculous. Okay, yeah, I've got all this chicken because I actually volunteered to supply a meal to this family. Who just basically, I mean, it's just kind of like a nice gesture thing. It's not like they were impoverished or something like that. What happened? But hang on a sec. My current plan with Optus, $90 for 25 megs and 5 megs. Okay. And how much data do you get for that? $90 is not bad. I actually signed up with Optus's 4G data, right? And I was only getting like about 3 megs downloads, so it was even worse than my ADSL. I thought, oh, Optus, like through one of their resellers, they had like what sounded like a decent deal. So I signed up for that, and I was only getting, like I said, only 3 megs download and like 2 or 3 upload, right? And they went through all this whole troubleshooting stuff with it, and they found out eventually, they say, oh, it's my area, it's a black spot. And by a black spot, what they mean is, you know, they're oversubscribed over here, so too many people connecting to the one tower. That's why I was getting crappy speeds, so they ended up refunding me for it. My phone, that's just my basic internet plan. Huh. Yeah, no, Australia's terrible. So one of these days, hopefully someone will say, hey, just put our logo on your live stream, and you can have unlimited data. That's my dream. Only need just 5 meg is all you need to stream. And yeah, exactly, unless you got a lot of, yeah, it is. I was finding, like, I was getting, like I said, with the Optus, in theory you really only need like 2 megs up and 2 megs down, you know. But I found with Twitch that you needed a little bit more than that, so my stream was freezing up a bit, sort of thing. So that was a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, in the end I had to quit that. So got the chicken. What I want to do, like I said, I want to do half of it as chicken curry and the other half as chicken rendang. What's the difference? Generally, chicken rendang of any kind would be a dry curry, right? Usually a dark curry. Again, there are lots and lots of different ways to pass it, but generally rendang would be like a dry dark curry. And it's quite funny. Most people know rendang as a beef rendang. But there is such a thing as chicken rendang, all right? We eat it, but you know, in Malaysia, more commonly it's beef rendang. And it's quite funny, when I used to trade at markets, there was one time I did chicken rendang, and this white woman came over and asked, what's this? I said, it's chicken rendang. And she walked off, really snooty. There's no such thing as chicken rendang. I was thinking, you're talking to me. A lot of people, they look at me, they see that I look, you know, with the blonde hair and all that I can't be an authentic Asian, right? And they assume I don't know what I'm talking about, and it just drives me insane. I was thinking, for crying out loud, you know, of course there is such a thing as chicken rendang, but yeah, anyway. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Yeah, rendang, like I said, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to use some fresh onion. We're going to use some frozen lemongrass. I don't have much of it. I might have to top it up with some lemongrass powder. So this is frozen lemongrass. If you live near, especially Vietnamese grocery stores, you should be able to find these in the freezer section. So they're actually pre-minced, and they come in either 500 gram or 1 kilo bags, right? And I use them because it's just easier. You can use fresh lemongrass, obviously. That's fresh is always preferable, but you know, frozen is convenient, and also fresh is not always available if you live in outside of Asia, outside of Southeast Asia, right? The couple of things I want to cover as far as the curry. I've mentioned about Malaysian curry powders before, right? You know, we are kind of like splitting hairs to some extent, because when I first came to Australia, we did not have this, all right? This is a fairly you know, relatively recent development. To be fair, I came to Australia in 1984, so we're talking like 30 years ago. But when I used to make rendang, right, for my business, when I started out years and years ago, I used to use a regular curry powder, all right? We had a particular brand that we liked, and it just says hot curry powder. and it was from Singapore. So that's what I use. So if you can't find these that I'm going to talk about now, don't stress out. But having said that, nowadays, right, certainly in Australia and hopefully in like the more well-stocked Asian grocery stores in other parts of the world, if you look for curry powders from Malaysia, if they sell curry powders from Malaysia, the Malaysian brands of curry powder usually come in three general categories nowadays, all right? Like I said, 30 years ago they didn't. They were just curry powders. Nowadays it's just like, you know, kind of like for marketing purposes and whatever, you know, because of demand or whatever. They have different types of curry powder. So if it's from Malaysia, you'll find that they either it'll say fish curry powder, meat curry powder, which is what this is, right? Or Rendang curry powder, which is what this is, okay? It doesn't mean that they contain meat or contain fish or can only be used in those specific dishes. It just means that, you know, they're kind of like the combination of spices you would want to use if you were trying to replicate your typical Malaysian fish curry or rendang or so on and so forth, right? So there you go. So we're going to use half and half of these. And here we go. Let's do this. Let's put on some gloves. And what I want to do, like I said, I've got fresh onions. In Malaysia, you would use shallots, all right? They're the smaller purpley kind of onion. Usually you use a combination of shallot and brown onion. When I came to Australia, you couldn't get shallots, so we just basically use brown onions like these. And nowadays, even though you can get shallots, I just find that you don't really need it, okay? Shallots, because they're quite expensive in Australia as well. Brown onions, you can pay like 99 cents a kilo, depending on where you get them and time of the year and whatever. Whereas shallots, the small purple ones, they cost like more like $10 a kilo. And of course, they're small as well. They're fiddly to peel and all that, all right? So let's... And we want garlic, but I'm going to use dried garlic granules because I'm running a little bit low on my fresh garlic, okay? Again, usually I would say fresh is best, but if you can't get fresh, don't get those minced garlic in jars, all right? Because they usually have preservatives in them that I think just overpower the flavor altogether, that it doesn't even taste like garlic, it tastes like something sour. But this is dried garlic, all right? You can buy these, again, at Asian grocery stores. Obviously, they don't come in this, just a recycled tub. They don't come in those tubs, they come in bags. But you can use those, and like if you use them in a stir fry, because it's already dried, if you use them in a stir fry, just soak it in a little bit of water, warm water, you know, just to kind of like fluff it back up again, and also just make sure it doesn't burn when you throw it in hot oil, okay? And Cookie, how you doing? Okay, knife. So again, I'm going to be announcing giveaways at the end of this, don't forget. And don't forget to remind me to announce them as well, all right? So, we are doing two things. The point of difference with rendang, and again, this is a nice to have, not a must have, and it doesn't actually appear in all rendang recipes, but there's this thing called Kerisik, all right, that causes a lot of confusion online, and I've covered this in the past, but it's worth mentioning now because I have used Kerisik that comes in a packet, but today I'm going to attempt to make my own Kerisik, all right? Fluffy Duffy, thanks for following. So now, you see where it says here, it says Royals Pure Creamed Coconut. This is what this is, okay? And it's a solid block, all right? Semi-solid block. In summer, it will be like melted. In an Australian summer, it will be like melted, but in winter, it will be solid. So what I'm going to do is actually make Kerisik from it, right? As with a lot of Malaysians, we like our food, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we know how to cook. And also Malaysia is sufficiently like non-homogenized that the Chinese, of which I'm one, the Chinese community cooks one way, the Malay community cooks one way, the Indian community cooks one way, and there are crossovers obviously, but in a lot of instances, some of the ingredients used by certain communities are a little bit mysterious to those from others, okay? And Kerisik is one of those. And the when I came to Australia, like I said, I didn't know what Kerisik was. My mom, when she made rendang, to this day, she doesn't use Kerisik, right? But in the course of teaching myself how to cook and all that, you hear about rendang and Kerisik, and you Google what it is, and almost any kind of like flashy, glamorous food blog in English, you know, that talks about Malaysian food, invariably is written by people who don't necessarily know a lot about food, right? They might be like university students who left Malaysia, went to the UK or went to Australia and whatever, have an expensive camera and thought, oh, I love food, I'm going to take some photos and I'm going to blog about it and be a food blogger, right? I always am very cynical about food bloggers because I've got a little bit of a conflicted relationship with them. But almost to a person, they'll tell you that Kerisik, even if you Google it now and look under images, right? You will see that they say that Kerisik is desiccated coconut that's been toasted. They call it toasted desiccated coconut. So if you Google Kerisik now, most of the images on Google will pull up, you know, basically toasted desiccated coconut, all right? And that's what I thought it was as well, until several years ago, about 10 years ago now, I found out, no, to the Malay community, that's not Kerisik, all right? Kerisik is actually, if you imagine coconut, desiccated coconut is basically from like the coconut meat from an old, mature coconut, right? Yeah, and it's grated and dried. You can't really get Kerisik out of that because Kerisik, a large component of Kerisik is actually the oily substance that you get from it, right? Because coconut is actually oily. Cookie question, the dried garlic you're using, can we get a really close-up shot? Saw a shop labeled fried garlic. Look like, oh, you know, I've tried fried garlic. It's actually quite good. I don't know if it was from Vietnam or from Thailand. It's actually quite fragrant, so it's worth getting. But dried garlic is different. Dried garlic, here you go, just let me hold it up here. You can see it? The only thing about the fried garlic, certainly the one I got anyway, it had some garlic skin on it, right? Sort of thing. So sometimes when you use it in your cooking, you can taste a little bit of the garlic skin left over from whatever process they used to pull it out with. But yeah, Kerisik, if you can imagine like, you pull out all the flesh from a coconut, and instead of extracting it, you know, for the coconut milk and all that, you basically blend it in a blender, right? You get what's called creamed coconut, all right? Which is different from coconut cream, because coconut cream is essentially coconut extract, right? So it's basically, coconut cream is like thick or thickened coconut milk. Creamed coconut is basically with the flesh all blended in, all right? And this is what you get out of it. Is because of the oil, the milk, the oil solids there, is solidified like this. So Kerisik is basically this, if you cook this long enough till it's a dark brown color, all right? And it should look like a paste. It shouldn't look like toasted, like dry coconut, desiccated coconut, all right? So we're going to have a go at making that. So we need onion, and look, why don't I get this out of the way? So this is the chicken skin. I'm just gonna lightly season it with like chicken powder and also some white pepper, right? But yeah, Cookie, if you get the fried garlic, it's actually really nice. I think I might have just used it up now. I bought it, I forget why, I bought it just to try it out. So lots of pepper and a little bit of chicken powder goes a long way with this, because this is going to shrink in the air fryer. Oops. But yeah, I did find that it had like some coconut, some garlic husk in it. Okay, I might just toss a little bit of oil through this, just to make sure. You know, I probably should heat up the air fryer, but sometimes it sticks to the bottom of the basket. And it's quite interesting, Cookie. We were talking about the air fryer because Cookie's a bit of an air fryer expert because she owns 2 air fryers. I never thought I even needed 1 air fryer, and then you meet an Asian who's got 2 air fryers. But she was saying before that, you know, air fryer is good for certain dishes, but you wouldn't want to batter. You don't want to air fry like things with like a runny batter or something like that, because it'll just get all over. And then a couple of days ago, I downloaded this book from Kindle. It was free. Someone posted it on Facebook. Kind of like 101 air fryer recipes or something like that. And you know, they actually have like a lot of, not a lot, but I've come across a few already, recipes where they do actually air fry battered stuff. I'm thinking, I'm not sure if this is gonna work, you know. Okay, see you in a bit, Remy. So I don't know if that's actually going to work, but it seems like, you know. Basically, what Cookie and I contend is that anything that's got like a sloppy batter in it probably like won't work so great in an air fryer, but that's our opinion, all right? So do it if you want to. That's what we're saying. Okay, so let's try this in. Okay, not much skin at all. And I like these chicken skins so much. Cookie, I'll send you a link to a mesh that makes air fryer basket not have anything to stick to. Okay, cool, right here. Here you go. Oh, speaking of links, Cookie, I got your link for that bread dough. I was looking at it, says it's a crazy dough, but I couldn't see any reference to actually, to be fair, I mean, this was like early Sunday morning, you know, because we were talking during my weekend broadcast. But yeah, I couldn't see any mention about cooking it in the slow cooker. It said that it's kind of like a general all-purpose bread dough recipe. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about it. Okay, let's do the onion. So I just want to peel them and then throw them in my thermo cook and puree them. And I'm just going to split half of it for one recipe and the other half for the other. Okay, so again, just if you're just joining me now, I'm making 2 types of dishes with the chicken. First of all, I'm going to have a go at making the kerisik, right? But I am making both standard Malaysian chicken curry and chicken rendang as well, just so you can see the point of difference, how they look, at least visually anyway, at the end. Stream down. I've been... Oh, okay, cool. You gave me a fright. I've been thinking of trying to test making chuchurudang in my air fryer. I'll let you know what. Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, you know, the funniest thing was I did a blog post that says, was just like, okay, I hope it's not my end, because it's lagging at my end too, but I don't know if it's my home internet or whether it's my streaming internet. But come on, please work. Let me just refresh this. Okay. Cool. Here you go. I keep getting that lag. Vince, I think you would do very well in MasterChef. Have you tried applying? Come on! Do you know who I am? MasterChef winners, come and watch me cook. I'm not even kidding. I do cooking demonstrations in front of live audiences with all your usual suspects in the MasterChef world. And yeah, when I get invited to cook, you know, by say the Malaysian government or whatever, and they put out a media invite, so all your usual suspects of current and former MasterChef winners come and watch me cook. Jackie won't qualify for MasterChef at all. Someone has asked me before, because every now and then people will say, oh, you know, shouldn't you be on MasterChef? I was thinking, why? Are they looking for a new judge, you know? Because I have a certain level of hubris about my cooking, because I have actually cooked in front of live audiences with MasterChef contestants before, and I know their skill level versus mine. My hubris comes from like 25 years of actually having people willingly pay money to eat my food, you know. I think that's something that MasterChef contestants, regardless of how well they're branded, they lack that kind of like that confidence when they actually are, you know, put to the test in front of Galactic Convoy. Thanks for following. When they're put to the test and have to actually cook live in front of audiences. But yeah, for branding purposes, because MasterChef contestants invariably like have very high public profiles, for, you know, they get invited to represent whatever as like kind of like a Malaysian expert or something like that, and I'm like, yeah. But when push comes to shove, a lot of the stuff they tell you when they're in front of a live audience and they're talking about how passionate they are about Malaysia because their parents came from Malaysia or they came from Malaysia, like when they were like at kindergarten or something like that, and then they try and talk about Malaysian food. I'm just watching and saying, no, you're just reading off a script. I can tell you've got zero conviction about it. Still, having said that, I've never met a MasterChef contestant who was not a nice person in real life. They were all very nice. But the ones I've met, I mean, I've heard some stories about others who are like quite arrogant or whatever, but all the ones I've met have been just lovely people, you know. But yeah, I share the stage with MasterChef winners and that sort of stuff in live cooking environments, and I cook on television with some of them sometimes as well. Okay. So onion is like what you would basically when you talk about spice paste, in Malay we call it rempah, alright? Rempah is kind of like the Malay word for spice paste. Any kind of spice paste invariably has a high percentage of onion in it, alright? Or shallots if you like, you know, if you're in Asia. So it will be primarily, generally, you want like onion, garlic, right? Those are the two key ingredients you want as part of your spice paste. And then you can cheat and you can use like these pre-mixed spices, all right? Like I say, we Malaysians have no qualms about using pre-mixed curry powders. So you use you're cooking rendang, you go and you buy a packet of rendang curry powder, all right? And meat curry, you use a pack of this. But back in my day in Malaysia, I remember at the wet market, there used to be an Indian guy who had all these different like spices in paste form, all right? So he'll have like a mountain of like turmeric. So it'll be like a mountain of a yellow pasty thing, and then he'll have a mountain of ginger, garlic, and all that sort of stuff. And the way they would function is, my mom would go up to him and say, oh, I want some spice paste for fish curry. Say, okay, fish curry. He would grab a bit of this, a bit of that, and put it all on a banana leaf, right? And wrap it up for you, and you take it home, and that's your curry, that's your spice paste for fish curry. Or you tell him you want it for rendang or whatever, and he'll basically, so essentially these curry powder mixtures replace what your old spice merchant would give you at your store, all right? Okay, anyway, so let's puree the onion. Again, if I had like garlic, I would throw it in, but because we're using dried minced garlic, I'm only needing to puree the onion. Anadaya, thanks for following. This is very annoying because like I said, my home internet, which is what I'm connected to observe my stream, is actually really flaky at the moment, so it keeps dropping out. I can't even, I'm a little bit paranoid that I'll be talking and then 5 minutes later realize that my stream has actually dropped out or something's gone wrong with it. So I'm just pureeing the onion here. If you want a chili boost, you can actually throw in some fresh chilies in there, all right? Or you can use chili paste or whatever, but we're going to leave all that out for this exercise. If you want a chili boost, you can actually throw in some fresh chilies in there, all right? Or you can use... That's what happened. I'm not from Australia. Onion, there's a couple of chunks in there yet. I'll just throw it back in. Yes, the Indian spice paste man, remember that well. The only people we could buy paste for curries during those days. Exactly right. See, Cookie is about like my age, so she knows what I'm talking about. And the funny thing is, when I go back to Malaysia, the last time I went back to Malaysia and mentioned it to my tour guide, they were like, no, never seen that, you know. So I don't know whether it's just specific to certain parts of Malaysia or whether that we're so old that by the time they came along, they didn't even like have that anymore. I just saw your followers have reached nearly the 1.1k. Thanks. That's some serious hardware you got there. I know, right? Yeah. So that's it, pureed, all right? And you're going to find that brown onion has a lot of like moisture in it, okay? So it is like a sloppy puree. And this is going to spin a bit when you fry it in oil. So what I generally try and do is circumvent that by frying it without the oil first and then adding the oil later on. But I'm also going to be using my new wok today, so we'll see how it goes, because yeah, it may stick without the oil, but that's interesting. Okay, so got that. Move this out of the way. So what we want to do, there are a couple of ways you can do this, all right? The way my mom does chicken curry is that she'll throw the chicken in a bowl and then she'll sprinkle it with the curry powder here, okay? And she'll coat it like about, you know, not too generously, because you want to kind of like there's a tipping point with the amount of curry powder you use in your curries, right? If you if you hit that tipping point, you go over the top, your curry can taste like really gritty, if you know what I mean. But generally, I would suggest using about 2 tablespoons of curry powder to every kilo of meat, okay? Again, it's a little bit arbitrary. Different people have their own preferences. You will find that different types of meat will absorb curry powders at different rates as well. So if you're making a fish curry, go a little bit lighter on it. And if you're doing like a red meat curry, then you can be a little bit more generous with it, okay? So this would be probably about right, okay? Just enough to kind of like coat it fairly well. And that's how my mom makes it. The way I make it is that I actually put the curry powder in with the onion mixture and mix it to a paste, okay? So do that like this this is the meat curry powder, okay? Which is what we're going to be using to make chicken curry with, right? So this is my chicken curry batch, but for the rendang, let's put the rendang powder in with the onion, all right? Let's take out the onion first. And I'm going to check on the air fryer chicken skid. Okay, so it needs a little bit more time, so I'm just going to stir it around a little bit. Yeah, Cookie. About my followers. You know when I got a really good boost from followers. So yeah, I'm just gonna do it for another 10 minutes or so, I think. I got a really good boost of followers on Saturday night. On Saturday night, because on Saturday night I don't cook. I do what's called campfire stories, right? Bloody Pocahontas, thanks for following. And on Saturday night, like I said, we do campfire stories, and it just the way it evolved was that it was only my third campfire stories. It wasn't even meant to be campfire stories. It's meant to be community chat, and you guys are meant to kind of like banter and whatever. But like the first campfire stories I did was a couple of weeks before that, and I was just talking to the screen, and no one was really engaging per se, and so I ended up reading like scary stories. So that kind of took off, and then by the time we came around to last Saturday night, which was about third campfire, Remy went and renamed my broadcast to "Are You Afraid of Ghosts?" and that brought a ton of people to watch. And I got like 50 people follow me from that. I was telling people on Discord, maybe I should just give up this whole cooking thing and just read ghost stories from now on. Okay, so out this comes. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to split this in half in a bit, but most of the other stuff are going to be the same, all right? So this is the onion. I'm going to throw in the minced lemongrass next. And by the way, BPAF about the hardware I've got around the back here, all of these are actually supplied to me either in the course of live cooking demonstrations or cooking online, right? And also, yeah, some of them are from some of my TV appearances, because the sponsors give you these appliances to use in exchange for branding, I guess. So it's a nice perk of what I do. And I always say it's too bad I can't pay my rent with them, you know. Okay, you can see this pureed onion has quite a lot of liquid in it, all right? And to that I'm going to add the garlic, the dried garlic. Again, like I said, you know, fresh is always best. I'm using a fair bit here. I'm just mixing it in. Fresh is always best, but I don't have enough fresh garlic, so I'm just using up some of my dried garlic. And lemongrass, all right? This is the minced lemongrass. If I were using fresh lemongrass, I could potentially like leave the lemongrass intact and just bruise it and then cook the curry with it. That's how my mom usually does it, all right? Because to be fair, my stepmom, she lives out near Cabramatta, where she can get all these ingredients quite readily. Over here in Cogra, you struggle to find fresh lemongrass at the shops here. So I use this frozen minced lemongrass that keeps in the freezer. Okay, so I've thrown that in, mix it in, right? And let's take out half of it for the chicken curry batch. Okay, still got a little bit of lump of onion, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's going to be for the chicken curry. And the rest of it is going to be for the rendang, right? I'm just going to open up the bag of rendang. Cookie, is that one bag? Is that a 1 kilo? It is a 1 kilo bag, yeah, yeah. Have you used them before? They usually more commonly come in half kilo bags, and I actually prefer the half kilo bag. But 1 kilo is too hard for me to defrost, you know, but sometimes that's all they have. Okay. Lee 4040, thanks for following. So this is the rendang curry powder, yeah? Now, if you look online, a lot of the, you know, it's almost like it's almost like you're cheating if you use curry powder. So any chef that puts out a cookbook invariably will not tell you to go and buy a packet of curry powder and throw it in, all right? So they'll tell you that you want to add some turmeric, you want to pound some chilies, you want to pound some galangal and all that stuff, right? But in Malaysia, if you're if you're cooking for your family, you don't do that, all right? You go out and buy a pack of curry powder. And a lot of the time, if you go to the Malaysian forums, like if some Australian celebrity chef posts their rendang recipe in the Good Weekend or something like that, invariably the Malaysian forums will be like really puzzled, saying, why did they do that? Why didn't they just buy curry powder, you know? Because there's like the aspirational aspects of cooking that television likes to kind of like play out, and then there's the real world, which is how we do it. Okay, so that's the curry powder. And with rendang, generally, like I said, you can use a little bit more with rendang, all right, because rendang tends to be a little bit stronger flavored all over. Okay, so mix this through. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, the hue is actually fairly similar, okay? But the rendang, you're going to actually be cooking like and frying it gently over kind of like a pseudo low heat, so that everything should actually brown up a lot darker, right? And I'm inclined to actually put a little bit more curry powder in here still. Okay, that should do it. Gaio, thanks for following. Okay, so this is mixed through. Let's get started cooking. I'm just gonna get my, I'm just gonna move a couple of things out of the way. And then I'm gonna set up my stove. Here we go. Okay, so my dinky little portable stove here, and let's get my frying pan. Okay, I'm thinking what I might do is actually start by, let's do the Kerisik, yeah? So this is the creamed coconut. Fly scan, thanks for following. This creamed coconut, okay, not coconut cream. All right, creamed coconut is going to be, how'd you say it? Broaden, thanks for following. Colin, how you doing? Yeah, the convenient, I was trying to gauge how much you were using. All right, I got, you know. I would probably have used a little bit more if I had more. That was all I had left. Okay, so here we go. Let's open it up. Creamed coconut will be like I said, imagine coconut flesh that's been blended, all right? So it will be gritty. It's not coconut cream, which is like creamy milk, right? Let's cut this open. I hope I don't slice my fingers off. Like I said, this is, because it's winter, it's solid. But in summer, this will be all gooey. But you should actually keep this in the fridge, right? 30 viewers, nice. All right, so this is what it looks like. And you can see part of it is actually just oil, coconut oil, right? So this is where you get coconut oil from as well, in case you're wondering. So we're gonna fry this up and brown it up. And in all honesty, I've seen people actually just microwave this, okay? So if you had the patience to kind of like throw this in the microwave for a couple of minutes, take it back out, stir it around, and then throw it back in, that will produce what we call kerisik eventually. You can see this browning up already. So ultimately what you want to achieve is like a creamy brown paste, all right? So this is so solid that I hope it doesn't like burn before it browns properly. So it's going to produce a really nice creamy coconutty aroma that is used sometimes in rendang. All right, it's not always critical in rendang. Like I said, my mom's made a very, very well-regarded rendang for decades now, and she's never even like. She probably has never heard of Kerisik, all right? But then she's Chinese, and that's the other thing I've got to point out as well. With a lot of, I mentioned earlier that culturally Malaysia can be a little bit segregated, all right? Like the Chinese people cook their own set of dishes, the Malays their own set, and the Indians their own set, and they use their own specific ingredients. That, okay, that's my air fryer chicken skin, okay? And sometimes what each culture uses is a little bit like foreign to the others. For instance, I'll give you an example. An Indian ingredient called asfatida. I don't know if any one of you guys have heard of it, asfatida. I had never heard of it growing up in Malaysia, all right? I hadn't heard of it for the longest time in Australia. I think I heard about it first about 10, 12 years ago, right? And it was introduced to me by one of my Indian staff from India, and it's fantastic, right? And I realized that that was the key ingredient that's used, well, certainly for me anyway, that's used in the lentil dip that comes with roti canai, right? Before that, I used to make the lentil dip, and it just kind of like tasted meh. It's kind of like a, you know, like a sauce to go with the roti canai. But when I started using asfatida in it, it just kind of like, you know, took it up to the next level. And then people started ordering my lentil, just, you know, frozen lentil dip just to have with their meals because it was vegetarian, you know. It was very, very popular with my customers in its day. But, and then I kind of like one of my Indian friends from Malaysia comes over for a visit, and I mentioned to her asfatida. Yeah, we use it all the time. I was thinking, I'm me being Chinese, I've never heard of it, never used it, you know, in all my life, you know. So that's an example of how sometimes, Moi Tang, thanks for following, how sometimes we don't really know what other people use. I've seen microwave that cream coconut to make kerisik, Musang, Norman Musa. I know him, I know of him. You know what was really cheeky as well, Chef Norman Musa, he's a very, very nice guy, by the way, was that I was once invited to go to Malaysia to give a presentation to this government body that were interested in getting me to promote Malaysian goods here in Australia, all right? This particular government body, I won't mention which because there's so many. So I gave this presentation. It was so well received and all that. I gave them a proposal of how we're going to do this, right? Different kind of like multi-pronged strategy to promote Malaysian food. And I quoted them this, how much it was going to cost. And they say, oh yeah, that sounds fantastic. This is great. You know, we never thought of it because Malaysia is quite bureaucratic. And anyway, culinary guy, thanks for thanks for following. And then never heard about it again. And then like years later, I find out that the guy who lined it up for me, very, very decent Malay guy, he said, look, I'm really sorry to tell you, Jackie, but they took your proposal and they offered it to Norman Musa to do it in the UK. Isn't that freaking cheeky of it? They get me to do all the hard work. I fly over to Malaysia and give a presentation for it at no cost to them, and they take my proposal and they execute it with Norman Musa. How do you always get on the Twitch featured wall? I get on it because Twitch is trying to diversify their content, right? Because about a year ago they decided they wanted some more creative content. All right, so you'll see me and you'll see people like Fitness Food, you'll see Lara, who's a musician, get featured on the wall, okay? But no, I'm not paying anyone off. When I started on Twitch 5 months ago now, I used to live stream to 0 people watching, all right? And I just had to tell myself, you gotta keep going. And then I tell myself at least I've got a recording of it that I can then maybe use and upload to YouTube or cut out a clip and use on Facebook, or at least, you know, post it. And well, I used to think I could embed the link from Twitch, which I could, but I didn't realize they deleted it after 2 weeks, right? Unless you're partnered, your Twitch videos only stay up for 2 weeks. But yeah, I basically told myself I could still repurpose the content because I've got like you know, I've got a wide social media, I've got a diverse social media reach, right? So people will think every single day, because she's awesome. Yeah, that too. Every single day I get trolls complain about why the F is she on the wall, get off my homepage, and this is crappy and whatever, you know, in more colorful language than this, mind you. So basically what I call them now, kind of, I call them like, you know, as a group, I call them crybabies now. So I'm offering, if you look at my wall, if you look at my Twitch channel wall, I'm actually posting a daily like crybaby of the day award, all right, to these people who basically think they're trying to be cute by complaining about how I'm always on Twitch's featured page. And the crybaby of the day gets, essentially, I offer to send them a week's supply of nappies, diapers. But that. So anyone wants to, I try and screen grab your trolling before you get banned, all right? Sometimes my moderators are so efficient that they ban you even before I see the comment. But if I had things my way, I wouldn't ban you. I will screen grab it and then, yeah, and then use it. Nappy sounds good to me. Asfatida, I learned about it from an Indian TV chef in Malaysia almost 30 years ago. I think he was a Hare Krishna follower. So it's strictly vegetarian. Only tried using it in Australia when I was a vegetarian kick for a few months with a garlic replacement. Yeah, I found he was trying to find Aussie streamers a few months back, not necessarily the content for the content, but I'm glad I followed. Oh, thanks for that. Very cool. All right, so this is turning brown. You want it darker brown, all right? And yeah, that's interesting as well, Cookie. You mentioned about it, the garlic thing, because I used to actually supply a range of frozen meals to a vegan distributor. And when I told them I use asafoetida and garlic in that dal dish, right? They're really surprised. They said, oh, to them, apparently with a lot of vegetarians, thanks for following, a lot of vegetarians use asafoetida as a substitute for garlic. And that's the other thing as well. When you talk about vegetarianism, there's so many different strands of it that sometimes it's hard to cater to everyone, because Buddhist vegetarians, they don't eat onion and garlic, all right? So, but they're not vegan per se, okay? So they'll have egg in their recipes, sort of thing. So when I try and kind of create like a vegan dish or something like that, you have to keep all these in mind. But it gets to the point where you're removing so many different food types from your recipe that what you end up with is almost like not worth pursuing, you know? So that was kind of like a bit of a dilemma that I was faced with when I was trying to do vegetarian or vegan type dishes. Sammy, how you doing? I still gotta send out your t-shirt, sorry. And yeah, guys, by the way, to celebrate the 1,000 follows, I do have some giveaways to announce, okay? I'm not giving them away per se today, but because they haven't actually arrived yet, but literally just minutes before I went live on air, I got the the sponsors agree to provide some giveaways, which I'm really excited about. And it's gonna be a little bit ironic as well, considering how I carry on about one aspect of my live streaming. So you see this? So this is what they call Kerisik. You want to brown it just a little bit more, okay? And then you can actually store it till you need it. You really only need like maybe a tablespoon or two for your rendang, all right? So a lot of this is going to be kept for future use. But yeah, Buddhist vegetarianism, and that's the other thing as well. Buddhist vegetarians, they like to make their dishes using meat substitutes, and they're not shy about calling them like by the original meat names, right? So you might have something that's like a mock duck, all right, or a mock chicken or a mock lamb or something like that, right? And then when I was using those meat substitutes on some of my recipes. Australian vegans got upset about it. You know, it's not all of them. You know, most of them are actually quite cool. But yeah, some Aussie vegans got upset about it and say it defeats the purpose of being kind to animals when you're kind of like fantasizing about eating these animals, you know, by using these mock meats. So very hard to please everyone. Okay, so there you go. This is pretty much dark enough. Let's scoop this out. And I need a spatula for this. I need some decent spatulas. Okay. But yeah, if you go and Google Kerisik, Kerisik, you'll find that most of the pictures that come up look like toasted coconut flakes, okay? That's not Kerisik. This is Kerisik. Because frankly, most food bloggers are clueless. I've got some good food blogger friends, but most of them are you getting sick? I know, right? Yeah. I'm just about to lose my voice and I hope I don't. Okay, so this is the Kerisik, okay? I'm just gonna heat this up. I'm just gonna wipe this down a little bit. Run out of paper towels. Alright, I'm not gonna wipe it down. I'm just gonna heat it up. So first off, I'm going to actually fry up the onion paste for the chicken curry. Because what I'm going to do is actually start out on frying the paste, but once it's brown, I'm gonna chuck it in the pressure cooker with the chicken and let it do its job there. So that I can, from here, I can then do the rendang, okay? So you hear the sizzling, that's from the moisture, okay? But yeah, Noah and I have been coming down with this thing for the last couple of weeks. And I blame Noah because he keeps crawling into my bed in the middle of the night and he's at the stuffy nose. And it's kind of like developed into a pseudo sore throat and now I'm losing my voice. But for whatever reason, I have a tendency to lose my voice at least a couple of times a year. And it's really frustrating because I do a lot of live streaming. Jackie, stay hydrated. You think that will help? One of my dishes, one I make using canned mock duck meat from Taiwan. Yeah, I don't know if it's mock duck meat. But my mom used to buy this I think it's mock duck, I'm not sure. Canned mock duck that she does in a stir fry with Chinese cabbage, right? And I love it, but I can't find it anymore. It's really frustrating. I don't know if it's mock duck or if it's like, they look like gluten. They're like kind of like, if you imagine tofu, like that's been fried forever, you know, like tofu puffs, soft and spongy. But yeah, you buy them frozen. Okay, you see here the sizzling is stopped. Now we can add the oil, right? I mean, you could add the oil to start with, but that just kind of makes it spit all over because the oil and water don't mix, you know? Okay. And speaking about the amount of curry powder I put in the chicken, right? This is, I think, maybe on the light side, but it might be okay. If you use too little chicken powder, it's not gonna taste much like a curry. You use too much, and you're gonna have that gritty, like you know, powdery residue in your mouth. All right, so just try and strike a balance between the two. Cookie brand is Wu Chung Small Narrow Tin Blue Label. Yeah, Blue Label. Okay, cool. Sammy, oh, we all had a cold for a month. Are you over it now? But then you're in New Zealand, you know. New Zealand is just... I don't think I'd get out of the house in winter if I lived in New Zealand. It just feels extremely, yeah. It's called vegetarian mock duck. I think that might be it. Vegetarian mock duck. What's the texture like? And how do you cook it? Yeah, got over it last week. Yeah, have you had snow? Are you serious? That's crazy. I didn't think it was cold enough. I didn't think even New Zealand was cold enough for snow. I was telling one of my subs, Inc, that last Saturday, I think it was just freaking freezing in Australia last Sunday. And yeah, I was at church and it was so cold that I actually left church right after the service because I was just too cold to hang around. It wasn't last Sunday, the Sunday before. And I told him it was like, it was 12 degrees in Australia, which translated to like about 52 degrees in Fahrenheit. And he's like, oh, that's shorts and t-shirt weather over there. I was thinking, shut up. We're very wimpy about our our heat. Okay. So what you want to do is basically brown this. And again, I always get frustrated by this little camping stove because it feels to me that it just doesn't quite generate the level of heat I want. But yeah, you want to brown this before you actually add the liquids to it, all right? You can actually add the chicken now, in all honesty. Okay, so that's the chicken. I think I could probably toss a little bit more curry powder in it, okay? Yeah, if you use too little curry powder, it'll just taste like a regular stew, you know? Okay, let's sprinkle a little bit more. What you don't want to do is, with curry powder is, there was one time this Singaporean woman was asking me about why her curry didn't turn out, you know, and I said, how did you cook it? She said basically she had a pot she was boiling the chicken in a pot with water and coconut milk, and she just basically sprinkled the curry powder in, you know, and that's not how you use curry powder, guys, all right? You actually have to fry it up. Basically, she was using curry powder like it was like an instant coffee mix or something like that. That's not how you use it, okay? 5 degrees was the high to that, seriously. No, that's it. I'm never going to New Zealand. I'm never moving there. I'll go there for a visit in summer, maybe. 5 degrees, that's freaking crazy. This stove is so lame. And I almost feel like this wok is a little bit small as well. And the other thing you can do, if you have one of my Thermomixes or Thermocooks, right, you can actually do this in there as well. So you saw me puree the onion earlier in the Thermocook. I could, in theory, you saw me add the other ingredients, the curry powder, well, you know, curry powder if you want, and the garlic and the lemongrass and all that. You could actually, in theory, put all that directly into the Thermocook, add the oil, and then set it to cook, all right? Just keep the lid off because you want the steam to escape, otherwise it will just turn like wet and it won't fry up. And then just cook it for however long it would take you otherwise, okay? The only caveat is that all these kitchen, benchtop kitchen cooking appliances, well, the Thermocook and the Thermomix anyway, not the pressure cooker, they are basically regulated so that they don't go beyond 120 degrees Celsius, all right? So you may have to cook it for much longer to achieve the level of brownness. It will never brown the way, you know, it browns sometimes, all right, depending on what you're trying to do. But the flavor is fine, you know. I've cooked curries. I've cooked chicken leg curries in a Thermocook before, so it goes to show. Okay. The other thing you can add to this as well is ginger. If you've got some ginger, that would be a nice addition as well. I kind of forgot about it. I do have some ginger, but doesn't matter. Okay, we'll share the recipe soon on my blog as part of our called True Home Cooking. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, to show what we Asians eat at home. And that's the other thing as well, like a chicken curry. If you get invited to a family in Malaysia, if you get invited to their house for dinner, chicken curry cooked by a Chinese family is going to be a little bit different to one cooked by a Malay family. It's going to be different to one cooked by an Indian family, all right? Because we all have our own nuances, even though technically it's the same dish. Generally, you'll find that the Chinese are more light-handed with the spices, especially with the curry powder, all right? So their curry will be like less intense. The Malays, to me, strike the right balance. The Indians, sometimes to me, it feels like they use too much spice in them, all right? But yeah, but I'm generalizing, of course. Okay, you can probably put more oil in this. This is so lame. I want like a high pressure burner in here. It just feels like this is just kind of like on slow cook mode, you know? So true, my Indian friend from Penang refers to my curry as Chinese curry. You see what I mean? That's the other thing as well, fish head curry. Fish head curry is made either by the Chinese or the Indians, and I always like I like the Chinese fish head curry. And then when I went to Ipoh, actually, funnily enough, courtesy of Tourism Malaysia, they had this famous fish head curry place. It was an Indian place, and wow, the spices are like really like not hot, spicy hot, right? But just like it almost feels like, oh, you know, just too much like spice overload to some extent, you know. But apparently that was their famous fish head curry in Ipoh. So yeah, the Chinese tend to be more like light-handed with all this sort of stuff. And again, the funniest thing was that like I was there on my own, like I said, courtesy of Tourism Malaysia, and they wanted me to try out all these different restaurants when I was over there. Need more gas. Erin, thanks for following the cookie. Yeah, so they wanted me to check out all these eateries, right? And I had like a personal driver, and I had a personal tour guide with me, right, everywhere I went, except when I descended to eat the food, all right? So everywhere I went, they were like, okay, Jackie, this is the restaurant that we want you to check out, and you know, and they'll sit me in front of this table that's set for 12 people, but it's just me alone there. And then my driver and my tour guide will go, we're just gonna go across the road and eat at the street stall, and just call us when you're ready. It's so sad that they're not part of the, you know, part of the tourism budget. So it's like, on the one hand, I've got all this food and I'm eating alone, and on the other hand, they're just kind of like hanging around across the road waiting till I'm done so that they can take me to the next place. It's a very strange setup. Okay, I'm done with this. I'm tired of stirring this because this is taking forever. So let's put this in the pressure cooker, all right? Mr. Ong, I'll time to cook some dinner as well. Be right back. Okay, cool. Okay. So ideally I would have liked this a little bit browner, but it will do. I'm just putting this into my pressure cooker pot, okay? And the pressure cooker, if you're interested, this is one of my most useful appliances this year, actually. It's called an Optimum Induction Pressure Cook Pro. And again, this was supplied by Prestige Home Appliances. If you want to check out their website, it's just Prestige Home Appliances rendang.com.au, right? And I've got a 50% off special on at the moment. I don't know how much longer it'll run for, because they were just advertising this a couple of weeks ago. But I use this pressure cooker to cook rice, to cook like this sort of stuff, and a bunch of other stuff in it as well. Okay, so you see that little burnt patch, right? Technically you should wash the wok and scrub this out before you use it again, because it will just get more burnt, so I'm not going to bother. Okay, so that's my chicken in there. Obviously it's still raw, mostly. I want to add some water. I've actually got some chicken stock, so I'm going to grab some of that. Okay, if you've been watching me enough, you know that the chicken stock thing is a nice to have, and it's not a must have, alright? I use chicken stock simply because I still run a little bit of a food business. Okay, this one's a little bit on, it's not on this way out, it's just like down to the gunky bit. I still run a Malaysian food business where I go through a fair bit of chicken that produces a lot of stock, alright? So I always have to find clever ways to use them up. And this is one of them, okay? But usually you just use water, okay? So I'm putting some chicken stock. I'm going to top it up with some water because this is actually concentrated chicken stock. And I'm going to put the coconut cream in there. This is going to have a fair bit of sauce in it. But that works for Noah and me because we like to mop up the sauce with the rice. Okay, I'll pull it a little bit closer for you. Let me just put the stock away. Okay, so far, that's what it looks like. So far, you've got the curry spices, you've got the coconut cream, you've got water plus chicken stock if you've got some, and you've got the chicken, and you want to season it. Okay, I would season it now. I'm just going to put some chicken powder in it. It's quite funny. I was watching some of my old broadcasts from like 4 years ago, and even back then I was going, oh, I'm really sorry I have to use this, but you know how I like my chicken powder. Okay, so there's chicken stock powder I'm just putting in. Happy cooking. We just got finished our dinner. Oh really? Try to cook early on Wednesday so I can... Oh, that's pretty crazy. Okay, and this is completely optional, but I just like to put a tiny bit of sugar in it, okay? Let's put like about a teaspoon of sugar in there. Again, you know, you don't need it, but to me it just kind of like helps to round out the flavor a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to pressure cook this. Let's just put it on meats, alright? It doesn't need 35 minutes, but what the hell, let's do it. Meats, start cooking. Okay, that'll just let me do my thing here now with the rendang, alright? So, back this goes. And again, I'm going to throw in the rendang spice mix. Again, don't forget like whether you put the curry powder, whether you coat the meat with the curry powder or you put the curry powder in with your spice mix, it really doesn't matter. Like, you know, like I said, this is how I do it. My mom tends to coat the meat with it, okay? And when she coats the meat, she does it visually, okay? She'll sprinkle the meat with curry powder and she'll look and think, okay, that's kind of enough, and then we'll stop now or something like that. So it's not like measure this, measure that. In Malaysia, the way we cook, we best we can, we don't measure. All right. I need to find a place that stocks that Knorr chicken powder in refill packets. Oh, never seen those. Oh, really? Oh, that's that's what I use, the refill packs. Because yeah, the can itself is more expensive, obviously. But yeah, noticeably more expensive. Okay, so let's fry this up. Okay, again, I'm gonna hold off on putting the oil in for the moment, but you'll notice the curry powder actually helped absorb some of the moisture, so it's not as wet, so it doesn't sizzle the way the other batch did, right? So let's put the oil in now. And in all honesty, usually when you cook rendang, you would actually put chili in it as well, alright? So, because rendang traditionally is more hot, spicy than your chicken curry. And rendang, like I said, will be a drier curry, and it'll be thicker as well, okay? So, yeah, traditionally you would have like a bit more of a spice paste with it. I get so disappointed when it gets to this stage and it feels like the heat's died off, and I keep checking every 2 minutes, and it turns out it's still going, but it's just very, very slow. Okay, I always say if you were actually like making this to keep, right, you can actually put the seasoning in now, right, instead of at the end like what I did there. You can put the seasoning in now, fry it up till it's browned and the oil separate and whatever, and then you can actually then store it in jars, and that will be your curry, your spice mix, all right? So next time you can do this in a big batch, right? And then next time you want to make chicken curry or whatever it is, just empty that, so you don't have to be peeling onion like every time you need to make a batch. You just grab it from your fridge. Just remember to refrigerate or freeze it, all right? And in all honesty, if you're doing a curry, right, you can just put the spice mix, you know, the spice paste in there that's been fried up, toss it into your cooker with the meat, add the water and all that, and then cook it. And that's how I actually sell my curry paste. If any of you have ever tried my curry paste, right? In all honesty, my curry paste is very Australianized, all right? If you're Malaysian and you're expecting like homegrown curry, don't hold your breath, all right? It's fine. My Australian customers love it, but yeah, I always get a bit scared when you know, you see the name on the order and it's obviously someone from Malaysia. Put a couple more things away. And when my mom makes rendang, her rendang actually has soya sauce in it, which is a very Chinese take on the recipe, all right? And I've seen recipes for rendang that actually use that thick caramel sauce as well. Thank you, Jimby. So yeah, I have seen like rendang recipes that basically put soya sauce or put that thick caramel sauce or cooking caramel, sometimes it's called, in it, right? And that produces that dark, really dark, intense color. That to me is a little bit like cheating, all right? So the more traditional Malay rendang wouldn't usually have soya sauce or whatever in it. Having said that, I did, because I learned how to make rendang from my mom. When I used to make it for my restaurant, I did actually put soya sauce in my beef rendang as well. But you know, it turned out fine. Like I say, my mom's rendang is fairly like very, very well regarded in the family, all right? But it's just one of those little Chinese quirks that we feel inclined to add Chinese ingredients to our Malay dishes. And again, you know, a lot of Indonesians, for whatever reason, tend to be quite thin-skinned about their culture and their food. All right, Indonesians, in particular, have a little bit of a hang-up with Malaysia because we're basically neighbors, right? And for hundreds of years in the past, we actually were really kind of like, you know, before you have like the, you know, national boundaries and whatever, we, you know, a large proportion of Malaysian inhabitants actually originated from Indonesia. All right, so when Malaysia, when you talk about a rendang or whatever, which is a fairly like iconic Malaysian dish, right? Indonesians usually get upset and remind us that it actually originated from Indonesia. Same with a lot of dishes like that. But even like within Indonesia itself, there are different types of rendang as well as a Sumatra version. My hometown in Seremban has a different version of rendang. Some usually, like I said, most of the time rendang does use beef, all right, but we're doing a chicken rendang today. But chicken rendang does exist if you're watching out there. If you're that woman who who dismissed me in the past as white woman. Yeah, chicken rendang does exist, all right, but more traditionally they do use beef. But sometimes they're beef that's cubed. My mom actually slices the beef, and that's how we do it in my home state in Malaysia, okay? And my home state is called Negeri Sembilan, which is kind of like south of Kuala Lumpur. But the early inhabitants of Negeri Sembilan was actually settled by Indonesians, right? From this this cultural group, this ethnic group called the Minangkabaus. All right, so you see a lot of Minangkabau architecture in my home state in Malaysia. Minangkabau, they're distinct because architecturally their buildings. Gala 20, thanks for following. Because architecturally their buildings have like the roofs are kind of like curved upwards, like horns, like cow horns, all right? Because Minangkabau comes from the Malay word menang and kerbau. Kerbau means cow, all right? Because I think culturally they used to have like, I don't know, cow fights or whatever, I don't know. I'm really bad about that sort of stuff. But yeah, if ever you go to my home state in Negeri Sembilan in Malaysia, you see like all the museum, the former palace and all that, all the roofs kind of like curve upwards. It's quite intriguing. Adios, Colin. Okay, let's toss in the chicken now. Okay. If you were actually making the curry paste to store, the curry paste isn't quite done yet. You want to brown it some more and cook it till the oil separates, okay? But because we're cooking the chicken along with it, we can toss in the chicken now. So this is going to bring the temperature down again. It's going to kill me because it takes forever. So let's just cover it. To help it retain the heat a little bit, all right? But if you're cooking beef rendang, if you're my stepmom cooking beef rendang, she would just, beef, you know, by its nature is a lot tougher than chicken as well. And that's part of the reason why I prefer to do chicken rendang instead of beef rendang. So it takes a long time to kind of cook it till it's tender. But basically she cooks it kind of like, you know, she'll cover it, stir it, cover it, stir it, add a little bit of liquid, fry it up some more till it kind of like keeps, you know, basically drying out, and then she'll add a little bit more liquid, but that's how she used to do it. But me, when I was running my restaurant, I would actually just add all the liquid. I used to cook my beef rendang in what's called a brat pan, all right? A brat pan is this big square kind of like cooker. I had two brat pans at one time, but the one I used most was 80 liters, which is more than 80 quarts in capacity. And I used to use a pizza shovel to stir the food with. So I'll cook 30 kilos of beef, right? 30 kilos would be like about, what, I don't know, 80 pounds or something like that. 70 pounds or something of beef, right? And I'll just add everything in there and add the liquid in there and then cover it, stir it, cover it and stir it till it completely reduces. So my beef was never quite as nicely dry as my mom's because I couldn't like conceivably just, you know, kind of like take my time and just add the liquid like in small amounts. All right. Okay, you can actually add the seasoning in now too if you want. So again, we're using the same, we're gonna put like the chicken powder again. And again, if you want to put soy sauce in there, by all means, right? And we'll put some sugar in there. The flavor should be more intense, okay? So I'm a little bit more liberal in the amounts I put in here. And put the coconut cream in. Just cover it up. I don't usually make chicken rendang because I need the sauce from a chicken curry for my kid to eat, you know. Oh yeah, the giveaway. All right. So yeah, giveaway. Okay, so this is to celebrate hitting 1,000 followers, right? And they're on their way to me, but Rode microphones. All right. Again, if you're a regular, you'll find you realize how ironic this is because I'm always really paranoid about my audio because people are always complaining about how they're only getting mono audio, and it's nothing to do with the microphones I'm using. It's because of my setup. All right. It's a little bit of a user error situation, but Rode microphones have been supporting me for years now since I started live streaming on Google Hangouts on air. In fact, there's if you dig hard enough, I won't look personally because I got a bit of a phobia about seeing myself on camera, even though I'm always live streaming. They actually did an advertisement, an online advertisement with me like years ago when I first started live streaming because I was one of the top Google Plus people in Australia. But yeah, they've supported me for years, right, by supplying me with all kinds of microphones for all my activities. So they are sending me, these are for if you're doing mobile video, these are microphones for your mobile, all right? So these are high-end microphones. Directional microphones. I've run out of gas. Thank God I can actually switch this out and hopefully get a better Rode mics. I know, right? I know, crazy. So they're sending me out a bunch of microphones. All right? I love Rode microphones because they've always been one of the easiest people I deal with. I dream of having a Rode mic. That's why you should keep watching. I'm just trying to figure out, like I said, whether to give them out randomly or whether I'm going to talk to my subs about this, about how we're going to work this out. But they're very, very generous. So they're sending me 10 microphones, all right? Pressure will be released now. And when I get them, I'll be able to kind of like show you guys live on air what they look like and how to use them and all that sort of stuff. And we're gonna offer them as giveaways, all right? I think I might stagger them out, all right? But how we're going to do it, like in terms of like whether we do random draws or actually get people to submit something I'll talk to my community on Discord about. Speaking of Discord, if you've been watching me on Twitch, right, and you want to engage with me further, Discord is your best bet. So my Discord URL is just is a bit.ly link, right? bit.ly/discordjackie, all lowercase. So you can find me there. You can tag me in case something gets lost. I mean, it's not like it's not like we're always talking, but sometimes when they do talk, they do get they can get into very long conversations. So you want to make sure I see your chat there, because with Twitch I may not necessarily see your chats, all right, because they disappear they scroll up and they're gone, kind of like, sometimes they're gone forever. With vodcasts, they've gone forever, okay? So I might miss your questions or whatever. So Discord's your best bet to reach me. Okay, so this is quite thick, all right? I'm gonna add some liquid to this because just to help it cook along a little bit. But now I wanna simmer it till it dries up, okay? But yeah, I'll send. I'll play the video from Rode. But they specifically for mobile. If you're, it would be perfect if you're a mobile streamer, or even if you like to do mobile videos. All right, if you're not live streaming. But I'm actually, they're sending one for me to use too, which is very cool. Because I don't have a decent mic for mobile live streaming. Not that I do any mobile streaming at the moment. We don't bite much. Yeah, not much. It depends on their mood. Yeah, and everyone on Discord has different like handles or different screen names, all right? So it's not easy for us to figure out like who is what on Discord unless you, but don't be scared of them. They're all, well, most. Most of them are alright. So far, the only time I've been a little bit short with someone on Discord, like I say, hit me up with questions on Discord. So, but certain things I get a little bit thin-skinned about. But someone was asking me about this burner. Why am I using this burner in my kitchen? And I said, this isn't actually my kitchen. This is my living room. All right. And he said, well, that's kind of dangerous. I was thinking, don't you tell me how I do my live streams, you know? And so I said, well, you know, that's your opinion, isn't it? Because for me to live stream is a big, kind of like investment of not just time, but of like a commitment for me. So I get a little bit thin-skinned when people try and tell me that I shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing that, or I'm doing this wrong or whatever. All right, we're all doing the best we can, put it this way. In all honesty, with the rendang, I would have liked more lemongrass in it, all right? Because part of the appeal of a rendang is that, like I said, because it's quite dry, you want the lemongrass like flavor and even the fibers caught up in with this mixture a little bit, okay? But yeah, I think I might stagger the giveaways. I'm thinking of staggering like the microphones to every 100 we'll do a draw in one way or another. Every 100 new follows, right? What do you guys talk about generally in Discord? Pretty random stuff. It's just ridiculous stuff. If you know Crunchy here, I don't know where she is today. Crunchy draws a lot of seal pictures and posts them. She photoshops all these seal pictures. I know. It just makes no sense. And Brad, who's over in the USA, he was telling ghost stories the other day, so that's really cool. But just kind of random stuff. Don't be scared to just hop in and say hi, all right? I know there's a lot of people hop in, look around, and then go away because I guess they're bored with us, or I guess maybe they I think it's paint. What paint? But yeah, so a lot of people like look around and then they hop off because they're scared, or they just they feel like left out, sort of thing. But yeah, if you hang around, just jump into the conversations, you'll get into it in no time. Okay, just let me step away quickly. That was my cold. The great thing about live streaming is if you've got a cold, you can't actually cut and edit your video. If you do join our Discord, just say in chat what's your Twitch name and whether you're a follower. Yeah, see, Remy is the most organized of all my mods. You'll be saying, oh, Jackie, you forgot this in Nightbot, you forgot that, you forgot to change. Did I forget to change the title of the stream? Did I actually? I don't even remember. Have a look. Dashboard. Oh. See, Remy probably changed it. I bet it was Remy who changed it. I always forget. My stream name will still be saying vodcast or something like that. I changed it for you. Thanks, Remy. That's what I mean about Remy being really organized. And my Nightbot will still be saying, hey, this is a podcast, thanks for watching, while I'm live streaming. And then when it's not live, I will be saying, hey, it is live, don't forget to say hi. I'm just horrendous like this. It's a lot of like, I really should do a checklist for myself about what I need to do before I go live. Yes, you can disable notifications to mentions only or disable it totally. Mentions are when people tag you in a message specifically. Yeah, that's what I do with some of, because I'm not just on my own Discord. I'm minimally on other people's Discord servers as well, but I disable the notifications except, yeah, for unless I'm tagged, I'm mentioned in it. Because some of them are just so incredibly like busy that you end up getting your phone beeping like all night, all day, all night. And by the way, if you want like this to cook up a little bit faster, I should probably do this as well. Just cut slits in your chicken, all right? Chicken legs are sufficiently like sturdy that they're not going to fall apart if you kind of like pierce, if you cut slits in them, all right? If you're using chicken fillets, you'll find that they'll be a lot more fragile, okay? So just be careful. If you're using fillets, you don't want to be like stirring this too much or generally just being too rough with it, all right? Let's put in some of the Kerisik, yeah? So this is the Kerisik, okay, from creamed coconut, not coconut cream, but again, like I said, completely optional, all right? It kind of gives your rendang that really rich note to it, right? But like I said, my mom doesn't use it. Okay, so there you go. And you can see that like there's like oil here, there's a layer of oil, which is coconut oil, and that's the paste. The paste is the Kerisik, all right? And if you go to Malaysia and you look to buy Kerisik, you can actually buy it at some of the wet markets from the Malay stores, all right? The Chinese won't sell them because, like I say, it's a very Malay thing. But buy from the Malay stores, and I've seen them in bags, right? And they look like this, okay? They look like this in like a bag, tied up and just hung up above the stove, okay? Sammy, anyone else getting spinning things? Messages that when I hope it says save the internet. Is that what it does? Oh yeah, it does too. I thought it was just my computer lagging. They're really pushing it hard because I got an email about it today. But it's like, you know, when this net neutrality thing was put into place, it was controversial, and now that they're trying to repeal it, it's controversial again. So in all honesty, I haven't researched it myself. Okay, I probably should. I don't, because it's an American thing. I'm so confused. Yeah, a bit too what is net neutrality and FCC? Disregarding net neutrality, FCC trying to repeal it, yeah. Okay, so this is, let me just taste test this, okay. You see the oil starting to come through, alright, this is what you want to achieve. And if you have chili in this should look more red, and the oil will look red, okay, which is beautiful, but I don't have chili in this. Okay. You're gonna adjust the flavor towards the end, alright? And because you're cooking rendang and it is quite dry, it will tend to stick, so you just gotta be one of those things where you really have to kind of like be patient and stir this through, okay? You could use a little bit more I'm gonna put some salt in it if you want. It might be okay actually. I always make the mistake of testing, like taste testing a very small amount, thinking, oh no, it needs more flavor, and then overdoing it, because I forget that like when you eat, you're not just having a little nibble, you're actually eating a whole mouthful of this. I'm so confused. Yeah, net neutrality. Like I said, I haven't really read up on it either. It's to do with internet service providers. That's all I know about it. I'm not. There's certain areas that I'm just not like well read up on. And with the chicken curry, by the way, Malaysian chicken curry traditionally does come with potatoes. I don't have any. I do have some potatoes, but they're green and it's gonna gross you guys out. I know what you. I know what it's like, so I haven't put them in. All right. But when I do my Malaysian chicken curry, I do actually prefer to separately cook the potatoes and then toss them in. All right. And usually I would, like back in my restaurant days, I would actually deep fry the potatoes. Now with the air fryer, I air fry the potatoes, and that just kind of helps it keep its shape, right? Though to be fair, some Malaysians actually, the point of adding the potatoes is actually to make the, as it kind of like softens in the curry sauce, it does actually help thicken it up, alright? So that just, to some people is the appeal of cooking it with the gravy, with the curry gravy. I do it my way simply because, like I said, I used to own a restaurant, and like the longer you simmer your curry, the more the potatoes will disintegrate, all right, and then you will end up with like a very badly disintegrated curry. Basically, they're protecting the internet companies, charging them for faster internet. If you click on the link Twitch gives you, it'll help explain things. You have asbestos fingers. Dwarf beast, that looks absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I want to cook this more till it's more, till the spices are more cooked, right? More like more roasted. Right now it tastes to me like it could use more frying. But you see the thickness is generated primarily from the spice paste, alright? And let's put a little bit more Kerisik in it, why not? Since I've got it here, alright? And the Kerisik again, it just adds a really rich, like a creamy, coconutty note to your rendang. You see the oil separating now. I don't know if you can make it out, right? That's when you know that the paste is done enough, all right? You want to fry it some more. The longer you fry this, the darker it should get. Like I say, you know, do a piece. Thanks for following. The love coming up next to your messages, Remy. Ah, how interesting. I've stopped trying to do the smiling or sad faces using the keyboard, as that seems to make the spinning circles come up. Is that right? Huh. Is that what Remy's doing? Nope, can't see smiling faces on hers. That's a little bit like intrusive, don't you reckon, eh? If that's like a deliberate ploy. I seriously thought that like my computer was just lagging. I thought that the spinning circles were just that yeah, my internet's slow. Just don't use Twitch global standard emotes. Is that right? Huh. It's a happy face. Look at though, thanks for following. Is someone can someone verify that's what's causing it? When are you going to cook kangaroo? It's a good question. Have you had kangaroo though? The only time I had kangaroo, it tasted so horrible that I've decided I was never going to eat it. It could just be the way it was prepared. I think kangaroo would work well in something like this, but I found it like really strong, like flavored. If you cook it with lots of curry spices, it's fine, but the way it was cooked for me, it was simmered in milk, right? And it was just like a little bit rare. And yeah. Maybe you can give her a good roux recipe. Yeah, I know. But I've always thought that like a lot of the Australian game meats would probably work well in like a rendang or something like that, where the gaminess can be kind of like masked to some extent by the curry spices. And it's quite funny, when I had my restaurant, there was this controversy in Australia where apparently, I don't know what meat it was, that people were buying frozen. Apparently it turned out that it was deliberately mislabeled. I forget whether it's meant to be beef or something like that, but it turned out it was actually horse meat, right? From Europe. I think it was from Europe. And Channel 10 or whatever it was called me up and wanted to interview me about what I thought about that scandal, right? So on the news that night, I was quoted as saying, look, you know, the deception is a bad thing, but really, like, you know, in all honesty, in Europe, people eat horse meat, you know. In parts of Europe, people eat horse meat, you know. So the you know, if you pay for whatever it is and you got a horse, then you were deceived. So that's wrong. But ultimately, I didn't have a fundamental problem with eating horse meat per se. Not that I've ever actually had it. And I actually said that, like, yeah, you know, if they do sell horse meat and label it as such, you know, I could try and add it to my menu and do a horse rendang. I don't know if that was a very, because I know Westerners have a very kind of like a complex relationship with horses, you know. I've got that sort of relationship with dogs, pets like that, but not horses per se. Horrible, you're talking to an Aussie here. The only time I had a friend using kangaroo in a stir fry, I make leather. Is that right? Huh? This is basically the link where you hover your mouse over the loading image. Huh. Okay, cool. You see the oil coming through now? I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why it was simmered in fresh milk, you know, when I ate it. Like I said, it wasn't I didn't cook it, someone else cooked it for me. And I think the idea with raw meat is that it can get really, really tough. So you're only meant to just barely cook it, right? But yeah, it wasn't. It was memorable for the wrong reasons. Okay, let's serve this up. This is my Crofton again. So you're gonna see that, especially if you use like a stainless steel wok to cook this in, that you're gonna expect to be putting some work into scrubbing this clean, all right, at the end of this, because it does stick when you're cooking something like rendang. And for a stainless steel wok, you do want to scrub all of this out, all right? You can't actually just wash it and rinse it. You have to get the scourer out and really scour it till it's back to its original form, otherwise you'll ruin your wok. And these kind of stainless steel woks, they're good for frying spice paste and all that, but generally when I'm doing like a stir fry, I would use an iron wok, all right, which has a very thin, so that the heat transfer is a lot better, so you get higher, more intense heat. I like meat rare. I do, but it depends on what. But kangaroo meat was like that. Kangaroo meat was very, very gamey. Okay. So this is the chicken rendang. All right. Pity I can't take a photo because of the bad lighting. I'll do it in not tomorrow because that's my busiest day of the week. I'll do it on Friday and post it. And let's have a look at how the chicken curry is going.
Pressure will be released now.
I didn't realize it wasn't even finished yet. I thought it had actually finished cooking. So rare, the meat is still moving. Okay, not me. I like my steaks like medium rare, but yeah. But that's about the extent of it. Okay, so let's put this away. Just wipe this area down a little bit. I'm just waiting for it to release its pressure before I can actually open the lid. Clean up. So we're actually pretty close to 1100. That will be my announcement of that'll be our first draw for the giveaway. But between now and Friday, by Friday's broadcast, which is Friday at 12:30 Sydney time, we'll have an idea as to how we're going to give away these Rode microphones. Okay, guys, so thank you to Rode Australia. You've always been very supportive of my live streaming life. Okay. So this is the chicken curry. You can see that it cooks for less than 35 minutes, all right? It could have cooked for less time than that because the chicken is virtually falling off the bone. A lot more sauce in this, obviously. I put a fair bit in there, right? Along with the coconut cream. We're just gonna taste test this. Because of the amount of liquid, we might have to actually add more seasoning, right? But when you cook your chicken or whatever dish in a pressure cooker, because of the environment, it's gonna actually produce more liquid, all right? As opposed to if you were actually stirring this over a stove. Okay, it's pretty much okay actually. Okay, so let me just dish this out. Okay, just pretend that there are like potato chunks in here as well. Like I said, it's traditionally like cooked with potato chunks, okay? And don't worry about the curdling of the coconut milk, all right? We Malaysians, don't worry about it the way Westerners obsess about curdling. Curdled coconut milk is not the same as curdled like dairy milk, all right? So there's actually no compelling reason to be put off by it. Okay, so this is the chicken curry. Move this away. And this is chicken rendang, right? We're gonna make it out. That's all I got of the air fried chicken skin from it, right? So there you go. It's like basically 3 different like derivations from the one meat. Oh, is this the curry? Yeah, this is the curry, right? So the chicken curry is got lots of sauce in it. So very typical hue and like the chunks of coconut milk, because I basically tossed it in as is. Just hang on a sec. Okay, so my streaming laptop ran a Windows update just before I ran this live stream, and I was hoping that the settings didn't get messed up because it looked like it was going to sleep. Okay, cool, right here. There you go. So again, chicken rendang, right? Okay. So the point of difference between this and this are the curry powders I use. But again, having said that, look, you can very, very safely use the same curry mix in either of them, right? And the difference in flavors are going to be fairly minimal, all right? You probably won't even notice it. Again, back in my day, when I first ran my restaurant, when I first started selling rendang and curry and all that, I actually used the same curry powder for both my chicken curry and my beef rendang, all right? So you can actually do that. It's just like, you know, again, the point of difference mainly is that this is dry, this is wet with the gravy. All right, so don't stress out too much if you can't find different kind of spice mixes for them. But if you can, like I said, if you look for Malaysian brands of curry powder from Malaysia, you know, you'll most likely be able to find ones that are for fish curry, fish curry, meat curry, which is what I use for here, and Rendang curry, okay, which is what I used in here. But yeah, generally we're really splitting hairs. It's not that, you know, not that big a deal. So there you go. If you've got any questions, let me know. Don't forget my website is jackiem.com.au, and don't forget, now that we've hit 1,000 follows, we've got Rode Microphone who are offering some giveaways. I've got some microphones on their way to me, right? They're for like mobile live streaming. All right, pretty cool. I wish I'd set it up so that I can actually show you guys what it looks like, but typical me, I was running behind already, so I didn't get a chance. But this Friday, I'll show you a video of what it looks like. All right, very, very cool mics. And I should have 10 of them to give away. So don't forget to follow me. And I think at this point that I will probably offer some of the giveaways targeted to my subscribers. All right, so all of my 6 subscribers. So I'll save some of the mics specifically for my subs so they stand a better chance of winning. But yeah, I've got a bunch more for everyone else as well. But yeah, my website, okay, jackiem.com.au is where you will find the recipes either already there, because some of these recipes I've done multiple times over the last since I had my website basically, and others will be there, okay, in due course. I'm running a little bit behind, probably about 2 weeks behind with my content at the moment, but yeah, sign up to my newsletter, you'll get a weekly digest of my blog posts there anyway. Thanks again for following me, guys. Thanks again for watching this, and I look forward to having you join me again. My next broadcast is this coming Friday and 12:30 Sydney time. And don't forget, also campfire Saturday night. All right, late night Saturday campfire, 10 p.m. Sydney time. We tell ghost stories. We talk about everything. You can talk about everything. It's just somehow because nobody wants to talk and whatever, invariably it veers into ghost stories, because that's kind of like one of my fascination. Hope you feel better soon. Thanks, Cookie. I submitted your name, by the way, for that thing a couple of weeks ago, but they just seem to be quite delayed with everything, so we'll see what they say. Anyway, all right. Yeah, so this Friday we'll announce what you have to do to score a chance to win the Rode microphones, all right? And I will see you then. Don't forget my Discord server as well, bit.ly/DiscordJackie, all lowercase. Thanks, guys. Ciao.